ATX Television Festival in Austin, Texas.
Welcome back to the Editor's Hour on Entertainment Weekly Radio, SiriusXM 105. I am Henry. I'm here with Jessica. Hi.
Hi. Love being here.
I love being here with you. I love your leather bracelet again. Like, I can't get enough of it. It's very dominatrix. It's not used to you. I'm impressed. Good work.
Thank you. I am usually dominatrix. You just didn't know that about me.
Exactly. So. Our relationship hasn't quite gone there yet. And meanwhile, we're here with the cast of Queer as Folk, the cast and creators, who are like upset that the conversation's already turned to dominatrix stuff. We have got
not upset.
We have got Rob Cohen and Dan Lipman, who are the creators of the show.
Ron Cowan.
Cowan, excuse me, and Dan Lipman, the creators of the show. Welcome.
Thank you, Henry.
Gail Harrell, who played Brian. Hello.
Hiya.
Peter Page, who played Emmett.
Hey.
Randy Harrison, who played Justin.
Hello.
And Robert Grant, who played Ben.
Gant.
Right.
Close.
Gant. I even had Gant written down here, and I was like,
I'm very used to it, I promise you.
I had an extra R just for fun, just because I like you.
I think it's
We're looking a little Cary Grant today, so.
Exactly. It was R for R-rated.
I'm down.
There you go.
I'm down.
Excellent.
Grant it is.
So have any of you guys rewatched the show recently and just sort of in preparation for this? Tell me a little bit about it.
I watched a bit of it recently.
You did?
The first 2 seasons, yeah.
And what have your impressions been? What struck me is it's been off the air for a decade now, and so much has changed, but so much has stayed the same. And this particular has been a monumental moment for gay and trans rights. And I was wondering how it struck you, sort of living in the society that we are in 2015 versus what was going on in 2000 on the show.
It's hard to place those things in the same answer. You know, it seems like primarily as the person, one of the people that was on the show. Who is that person? Who are those people? What's going on? What am I looking at right now?
Why does my hair look like that?
Exactly.
That was a big one for me. Every time I see it, I'm like, the show holds up. The clothes and the hair, not so much.
And didn't anyone tell me what to do? Because I seem to be wandering. But proud of it, of course. A little shocked by some of the things that I saw. And I cracked up a lot. That's a hard question to answer, but...
What was it like shooting the show? I mean, did watching it take you back to the experience of doing the show?
It was a pretty amazing ride. I haven't rewatched lately, but we were all plucked out of our lives. With about 2 weeks' notice, we were all thrown on airplanes and moved to Canada. So we really clung to each other, especially in those early seasons. It was
Canada can be scary.
Canada's terrifying, let's be honest. But we really clung to each other and relied on each other, and that's part of the reason I think the show worked. Is we became a family, you know, and that gets reflected on the screen. So it was a pretty amazing experience, and we also knew we were doing something that wasn't being done anywhere else. I mean, I remember Gail and Randy. The first day I came to set, Gail and Randy were shooting sex scenes all day. It was their second day working together.
Yeah, that's
our first day working together. It was your second day shooting.
It was my second day shooting and our first day working together. Yeah.
What was that like to meet each other and be like, okay, let's take off our clothes and just do this?
It's kind of like the show. How you doing? Your pants are still on. Can you handle that? I don't know. It was definitely kind of a baptism of fire, but...
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if I might say, both Gail and Randy really set the bar for our entire series in terms of doing scenes like that. They were incredible, and I remember the three of us had a little talk about that and saying that you really are going out there and you're going to really set the standard, and they did. They were remarkable. I just wanted to say, if I could, Henry, answer the first question. You know, we were given an opportunity by Showtime to do this show, which of course is based on the British series. They really had, their motto at the time, maybe it still is, was no limits. And they really gave that to us. And we were able to be as honest as we could. The whole concept of Queer as Folk, the American version, was really a celebration of the gay community and showing it in all of its forms. And so we were able, in that moment of time, to really write and produce what we wanted. Wouldn't you say, Ron?
Yeah, we were very lucky in being given that freedom. And, we have watched it recently. And if I may,
yes,
give a
please.
plug.
Yes, please.
Absolutely coincidentally, Showtime is rerunning the entire series starting tonight.
That is amazing. So check it out on Showtime
On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Wonderful.
Every week they're going to show 4 episodes. All
Set your DVR. That's incredible.
I think they think it must still hold up. And I think you're right. I think some things have changed, some things haven't, but I think it's still pretty relevant.
Well, so
I'm sorry, just if I may. Showtime's motto was no limits, except when they had them. I do remember there were lots of discussions about how many thrusts could be, right? Wasn't there? It was
what was the answer? How many?
Well, usually it was less than 3, right?
They were much more liberal with the women.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Some of those lesbian sex scenes were serious.
Things were a little tighter, so to speak, when it came to the guys.
They're all straight guys.
Women.
Exactly.
I wasn't going to say, but yes, that may have had some
unlimited, yes, no limits and thrusts for the ladies.
Yes. For Rob and Daniel, how would you go about if you were creating the show today? How would you go about doing it differently, or would you go back and sort of you think it holds up in the same way? What might you change?
Well, the original concept, and as I said from the British also, were these group, with the women of course too, but a group of young men in their 20s. And we tried to reflect what was, hopefully if you see the entire series, you would hopefully get an idea of what it was like to be a young gay man at the turn of the century. Can you believe I even said that? Turn of the century. Today, what's very interesting, when we finished the series, I remember distinctly that George W. Bush had his Rose Garden press conference saying that he was going to personally try and rewrite the Constitution so that gay people there'd be no same-sex marriage. Obviously, that has changed the world, or at least the United States, and has changed gay culture. But I think there are a lot of things that are still going on. Ron, remember we had this discussion about that?
Yeah.
About things that
I think if we were doing the show today, there would be changes. Do you mean using the same cast?
Or just like, would it be...
Because they'd all have grandchildren.
Beg your pardon.
This is radio, but I have to tell the audience that these guys still look fantastic.
These guys do look terrific.
They do not look like grandfathers.
No, this is the best looking cast.
No, if we were using the same cast, of course, it would be a very different show. And I think we'd probably be focusing more on what we started in the last season was the issue of assimilation versus separatism. And that was the entire arc of the last season. And that was just starting to come into the consciousness then. And I think that has really changed how gay people see themselves. So that would be a major change than if we were doing the show today.
Is there any talk about doing the show? I think when the show came to Netflix, it was like there was all of these new eyes that maybe hadn't seen it in its original incarnation. I love that it's re-airing on Showtime now.
Well, I think that would be the venue. If someone were to do it, it would need to be, I think, someone like a Netflix. The rights are not necessarily with Showtime. They're able to be gotten from their original source, and I think that would probably make the most sense. Showtime has a more limited ability in terms of what they're able to do with new programming and that sort of thing. So from a budgetary standpoint, I think Netflix would be actually an amazing option to pick up and do a 6th season if they. So if folks are wanting to,
I was going to say.
I feel like there are hints being dropped.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of people make mention of it. So if the fans want to get wild and crazy, I would say talk to Netflix.
Well, let's go around the couch for a second. Would you be open to doing another season or a movie or something?
Time permitting, absolutely. I'd love to put on those orange leather pants. They will have to be cut from a bigger cap, but I'd be happy to do it. I'd love to know where Emmett's at today. I'd love to explore sort of the next chapter of the aging queen.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do it. I'd love to. I have no idea where Justin could be now, 10 years later.
Excellent. Gail?
I'm down.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It'd be freaking amazing.
Nice.
Do you think about that, like where your characters would be now?
We've talked about it a bit, I think.
Somewhat, yeah.
We've had a couple of bull sessions. Well, not all of us at the same time.
Usually over cocktails and at a fan convention in Spain or something like that. Well, Emmett is married to the governor. And, no, listen, shush, listen. It's that kind of thing. So I don't think we've clicked it. We don't have a Bible or anything lying around that we can just trot out anytime we have a pitch meeting.
But it is an incredibly melancholic thing. I've looked back and seen some of the episodes, and it really kind of makes me a little sad because it was such a special experience. We used to call it the pink bubble. Like lovingly, it was a very unique thing. When you're plucked up and put somewhere else, something happens. And there was this familial thing that happened. And I also think that the nature of the show caused a certain kind of person to be drawn to it that was, it required a certain heart to come and
courage.
Be a part of this.
I would like to add, sitting with our cast for the first time in so many years, looking back, how brave they were to do what they did. No actor has ever done what they did before.
But also,
they had done two thrusts before.
Exactly. just to give it a little bit of context, though, in terms of how things have been shifting. I remember being here for an event in Houston in 2003 on the day that the Lawrence v. Texas came down, and finally gay sex was legal. When that was in the middle of our show. When we look back, it really wasn't that long ago that there were still 13 states where it was illegal to have sex. And I remember I was at a nightclub and said, if anyone here is going home tonight, you can actually have sex legally.
You're right. People don't know that.
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations, we're legal.
No, you're right. When we were doing the show, there was DOMA, there was Don't Ask, Don't Tell, there was sodomy laws, there was no marriage.
No marriage.
In any state in the United States. So that was a whole different.
It was such a unique thing when we were in the fourth season and the whole marriage thing was happening. It was in November that Massachusetts came down with their, but they weren't going to implement until May. So we were doing this legal marriage on the show. So we were debating, should we do it in Massachusetts? And they were like, well, no, it's not actually legal yet. And then in the following February, Gavin Newsom started issuing licenses in San Francisco, and so there was a whole scramble. It was all sort of at its foundational stage.
What's interesting to me, though, just in terms of the show and the context, is the politics have changed, the circumstances continue to change at this kind of incredible, rapid rate. The emotional stories, though, I think hold up absolutely. I think they're absolutely clear. There's still right. What is still most engaging about the story, what is still most compelling about what we did for 5 seasons is absolutely true and resonant today.
And there's so many things that have not changed, and that's really important to note. There's still gay bashing, there's still teen suicide, there's still AIDS and HIV, there's drug abuse, so many of the issues that we dealt with, those things have not changed, and I don't think people's feelings change as fast as laws. You can implement all the laws you want, but there are still going to be people who hate gay people and do everything they can to work against them.
And gay people who at their core don't love themselves. And I think that's sort of, that to me is sort of the ongoing story, is even though outwardly things look a lot better, at core, I was back at college recently, I used to meet people by writing names in the bathroom stall. That's how we met people, because we didn't know where any gay people were.
Where did you go and where's that bathroom stall? You're listening to the Editor's Hour on Entertainment Weekly Radio. I'm Henry. I'm here with Jessica. We are broadcasting live from the ATX Austin TV Festival, and here with a reunion of the cast of Queer as Folk, that groundbreaking show from Showtime between 2000 and 2005. And I'd like to go around and ask, what is your favorite memory of the show? And Peter, I will start with you.
Damn it.
Other than orange leather.
Yeah, my early onset, all my Alzheimer's does not serve me well in these settings. My favorite memory of the show, when I think about the show, it's just the feeling I get from the cast and Dan and Ron and the whole that sense of community that we created. That's what I'm left with. That's what I want to go back to. That's why I'd be open to doing another year or a movie, is to get to re-tap into that juice.
I remember the first season best. And, all my fondest memories are like that first season, being in a completely foreign place, meeting all these people, the amount we would hang out outside of work to get to know each other. I remember rehearsing the dance number at the end of the first season with this sort of eccentric ballroom dance teacher, up in a weird area of Toronto that we didn't know very well. All these just silly little moments.
Well, also, I imagine the cast very much bonded in those early seasons because there wasn't a lot shooting in Canada at that point, unlike now where all sorts of shows are shooting.
Actually, it was crazy crowded in Canada.
Oh, really?
And yeah, this was when the dollar was super strong against the Canadian dollar. There were, I think there were 80 productions or something.
Oh, wow.
Toronto at one point. It was crazy. So no, that wasn't true early on. Then the dollar changed, and by the end we were lonely
The only
up
one,
there.
yeah.
But
Excellent.
We had great difficulty casting this show. Most of the major agencies would not send their clients. Our Linda Lowy, who was our casting director, kept saying to us, "We only need one person, the right person for the part." We were so blessed with our cast. We've had all the right people. And my memory is standing on the set one night. We were doing some night shooting on the pilot. And I just turned around and I said, and I'd never had this feeling before, even though it was only the first episode or the second episode, I felt like we'd been doing this for years, and these people were the most perfect people. And they were. As people and as actors, they're extraordinary and still are.
I find that so fascinating that the agencies wouldn't even send actors.
Well,
Like
you have to
say
remember
that just kind of rolls out of your mouth, and it is not that long ago.
No, it wasn't that long ago. But this would not. I don't think this would happen today.
Well,
this is a change.
of course
But
not.
back then, they did not. Actors were afraid. The agents were afraid. There were many actors who came up once the show was a success, who came up to me and said, I didn't even know. I would have come up for this, or they'd say, my agent told me not to do this. So these gentlemen here are the bravest people that you could meet.
we also wanted a job. We also wanted a job. I mean, not for nothing.
But I also just wanted to say, I don't mean to take everyone's time, but I wanted to say that, yes, there have been extraordinary projects, films about the gay experience like Brokeback Mountain, whatever, but that's a one-off.
Yeah.
These people did this for 5 seasons, and it's just amazing, and that's really part of the success of the show. Ron?
My happiest memories when we were all together not doing the show and just being friends and having dinner or sitting around. Those are my happiest memories. And my saddest memory is sharing 9/11 together.
Were you all in Canada at that point?
Yes, we were.
Oh,
we
that
were
must
at
have been so
Scott's
difficult.
apartment watching TV for about 12 hours, probably until we all fell asleep in front of the
That
TV.
morning we were on our way set to
That
work.
was the
wow.
profound.
We tried to.
Yeah, we shot in the. You were there. You were there. We were on Church Street. We were on Church Street. We were doing an exterior,
Bookstore scene.
and we were all sitting there on the street, and we all voted together. Do we want to continue working, or do we want to stop? And we all said we're going to stop.
Yeah, of course. Robert, please tell me you have a more uplifting memory.
No, there are so many that I would say, sort of, as has been said, it's the feeling of family, really, that existed on the show, but also that existed behind the scenes. I really, I think it's perhaps a special thing that a cast has stayed in touch and connected as long as they have. I don't hear that it's that common a thing. Maybe it is, but I think it's just really an outpicturing of the familial dynamic that was happening between all of us when we were there. So,
How about you, Gail?
I would echo what Peter started with and what Randy and Robert and Ron and Dan have said about the relationships that are still a very important part of my life. Also, the people that I met working there that I'm still really good friends with, crew and creatives and people that I met that just live in the city of Toronto that I'm still friends with. Also, after the years that have passed, I didn't really know how to understand it. Now I understand a bit better, being welcomed into a community that I'm not really fundamentally a part of. I'm maybe by default now accepted in to some level, but and back to,
exactly.
and it goes back to what you said about rewatching some of the early episodes, hoping that I wasn't embarrassing myself, and by virtue of embarrassing myself, embarrassing a community that I didn't really understand completely, and being welcomed into it and being a comrade, in arms is, for me, kind of the one thing that I think I'm going to take away.
I do have one specific memory. The night that we all got together and watched the pilot, the premiere, because we had shot for months and months and months, and they would not let us see anything, and we were all like, what are we doing? Please, God, let us see something. I'm afraid I'm really bad at this point. And I remember that moment of feeling like, oh, we did okay.
And was that all of your experiences watching that first episode? Was it like, okay, we got something here?
Oh, yeah. It was mine.
Yeah, it was mine too.
We were shocked out of our mind. We were so... we wrote this thing. And we're sitting there at a screening, I think, was it at the Academy in L.A. with like...
Right.
What?
I was talking about when we all watched it at Scott's apartment again. I think we were at Scott's apartment.
Yeah.
But yes, the opening night was pretty great too.
With a whole bunch of strangers who had come to the premiere at the Academy or the Writers Guild or somewhere, and they're horrified.
They were not horrified. They were captivated.
They were captivated, but your mouth sort of drops when you see this the first time, and we're sitting there
stunned.
So
we were stunned.
We were too, as if we were just seeing it for the first time.
I remember,
oh my God,
walking into my audition with you guys and holding up the 180-page pilot script. It was the first 3 episodes, right? No, I'm not exaggerating. Holding it up and going, are we doing this? Because this is dirty, y'all. And they were like, every word, and I was like, I'm in.
Were you like doing curls with it and stuff like that?
So I'm not kidding.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What's your relationship like with the fans? I mean, here at ATX, you have this panel, and you're going to meet so many people who love the show, and the show has been so meaningful for. I mean, what's it been like? First of all, just being here so far, people coming up to you, like immediately, like recognizing you and wanting to talk to you about the show.
I ran into someone at the gym this morning. That was pretty cool.
Was it cool, or was it like, excuse me, I'm working out?
It was actually very cool. She was very sweet, and we had a little chat. And
nice.
We have pretty extraordinary fans.
Yeah, very kind.
Yeah. They're so good to us and kind and supportive, and I feel like they're always trying to give us back something that they get from the show, and that's a pretty extraordinary back and forth. And now the show is resonating all over the world. Now people in Russia and China and these places where the LGBT movement is so new have connected to the show and are getting inspiration and strength from the show, and that's really an incredible honor.
I love hearing about the weirdest fan experiences too. Do any of you have those? Like,
I think I tried to take a picture of me peeing. Yeah, in the bathroom.
There's nothing weird about that.
Yeah.
Nothing weird about that.
Camera phones were kind of the worst thing that ever happened. Camera phones came into being right in the middle of our shooting, and for 2 seasons it had all been fairly civilized, and then all of a sudden everyone was just like, "You are drunk!" Click, click, click. You are click, click. Oh.
How about you, Randy? Do you have any weird fan experiences?
I had someone send hypodermic needles to my home apartment once. That was weird.
That's weird.
But that's not at all representative of the general fan.
Randy, I want to apologize for doing that. It was meant in the nicest way possible.
They make good use. It's a good month.
How about you?
Honestly, I think the fans have been amazing.
That's excellent.
Been really beautiful over the years, and I think we're fortunate to have the kind of fan base we have.
So before I let you guys go, I want to hear about the projects that you're working on currently.
I created a show called The Fosters.
Exactly. It's amazing.
I'm busy. Oh, thank you. We give golf claps.
Golf claps
from the audience.
We should say there's so many awesome fans who are are kind of flooding the room just to kind of see you guys.
Exactly.
It's just a testament to the excitement for former and current projects. It's very cool.
It's very sweet. So I'm working on The Fosters hard, and I was writing this morning till the second I had to hop in the shower to come down here.
Nice.
I'm doing a recurring role on Mr. Robot on USA. That premieres, I think it's June 23rd.
And Mr. Robot, I've seen the pilot. It's absolutely terrific.
Yeah,
you should all check it out. It's actually streaming on EW.com as well. So if you can't find it anywhere else, go to EW.com and check it out. It's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, to be a part of it. Thanks.
That's great.
Ron and I met when we were at a playwrights conference, the Eugene O'Neill Memorial Playwrights Conference. We started out in the theater, and then we sort of transitioned into television and film, and we've gone back to the theater. We've had a musical that was produced by Cameron McIntosh in the West End called Betty Blue Eyes, which was based on a film starred Maggie Smith and Michael Palin, Private Function. And next year at this time, we've written a musical adaptation of Graham Greene's novel Travels with My Aunt, which is going to premiere at the Chichester Festival Theater in April.
Great.
So if next year, so if any of you plan a trip to UK, please come and see it.
That's excellent.
I'm doing what he's doing.